Hello my viewers, welcome back to the channel. By the video title, you know what this video is about. Today discussing, of course, some NFL news and updates. As you guys probably seen already, you've seen that Joe Flacco was named the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And we're going to see what happens, of course. We know Joe Flacco, veteran, 40-year-old quarterback, of course, Super Bowl MVP. With the Browns, last time he was there, he did lead them to the playoffs. He did play very well and get to the playoffs. They fell short, of course, with the Texans. The Texans kind of jacked them up. He threw a lot of interceptions in that game, and it didn't go too well. But he did lead them to the playoffs at one time, but it's a different situation right now. The Browns, defense seems pretty cool. Got some pieces, of course, around. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. They got Mason Graham now drafted as well. They got some pieces around in the offense. They added some pieces too, some sleeper receivers and stuff as well. So we'll see how they look. I don't have no confidence in the Browns, not because I'm just a Steelers fan, and it's a little bias, a little, hatred towards the Browns a little bit. But in terms of just taking the biases out of it and just looking at the Browns. I can't see them being like a super threat. They can definitely, win some games, of course, like that. Maybe win 6 games, something, maybe 7, like that. But I don't really see them being like a playoff contending team because I feel like right now they're trying to find their culture and trying to find their identity again. But Flacco is QB1, and we kind of all figured that was going to be the case. And then you look, of course, at the other quarterbacks after. I think I mentioned last time. I said Flacco will be QB1, and I predicted Shedeur Sanders number 2. Dillon Gabriel number 3, and then Kenny Pickett will be somewhere else on a different team. But looking at Dillon Gabriel, he did play over the weekend. You look at his numbers in his start. The Browns won 22-13 against the Eagles, and he played a little bit, of course, in that game. Through the first 2 quarters, he had 13 for 18, 143 yards, an interception, and a fumble. Now, Dillon Gabriel did show some promise a little bit in that, some of those intermediate throws and some of those touch throws like that, like in the movement and stuff. He kind of fit and merged well in that style of offense that Kevin Stefanski wanted the Browns to run, but you can still see the lack of arm strength. Like some of those throws outside the numbers, he really can get the ball over there sometimes as well, like fast enough. And of course, he's a smaller quarterback as well, and he's a little mobile like that too as well, but not super mobile or super athletic. So it was kind of like seeing I don't want to try to disrespect him, but kind of seeing a lesser version of Tua. Like how Tua plays, and him kind of like similar play style, but Tua is a little higher scale, of course. But I think Dillon Gabriel is kind of like in that same part a little bit. So he needs to be in a certain type of offense that can help him out. And we know he had the comments. Of course, people said the comments that they think was directed towards Shedeur, where he was saying the entertainer, competitor. I guess he kind of answered that question wrong a little bit. Because they asked him about his about being in front of a camera. He should have said, "Well, I played at Oregon. We had a lot of limelight, of course, there, and I had a lot of expectations and stuff. So I'm getting kind of used to it. And of course, NFL is a different, bigger stage, so I'm getting more used to it, prepared to it, hearing the fans and the reaction, and just preparing myself to try to compete, be the best version I can." He should have said something like that. But he said like the entertainers and what's the thing, and people kind of people don't take it how they take it, of course, like that. So it kind of like a little shaky a little bit. But in my opinion, I think Shedeur Sanders and his start was better than Dillon Gabriel. I seen Dan Orlovsky on ESPN. He was doing every type of copium technique you could think of like that, trying to make up on some. The interception that Dillon Gabriel threw was really his fault, and they tried to bring up to the coach that the routes got messed up. It's 1st and 10. If the routes did get messed up and they ran the wrong route and stuff, you still didn't have to throw the ball. It's 1st and 10. You threw the ball over there. You rolling to your left. You got the pocket so you could throw the ball away and then live and fight another day. With the 2nd down, you could have just regrouped and got things situated. But you try to force a pass in there and throw a pick 6. And then the handoff exchange with the running back like that, being cut off with the football and fumbling the ball and losing another, of course, possession as well. So 2 turnovers. Look at Shedeur Sanders, the throws he made. Of course, we know they were saying Dillon Gabriel made elite level throws. He made some cool throws, of course, in the middle of the field, made some plays. But you look at the throws Shedeur Sanders made, especially the 2 touchdown throws he made, especially that first one where he threw it between 2 defenders like that. That's elite level throw. That's a throw where a few people can make like that. In that back of that end zone when your pressure is on and you're rolling and you gotta zip it through. You got one defender trailing on the receiver. Then you got somebody else right there guarding and stand on the other side, and you zip it right in there. That was nice. So in my opinion, I think Shedeur Sanders is winning this, but based off of the ownership of the Browns and based off everything that's been happening, the owner saying that he was not my pick. Shedeur Sanders wasn't my pick at all. Most likely going to be Dillon Gabriel number 2. I will hope it's Shedeur Sanders. They prevail. They listen to the locker room, because the locker room know they know who's better, of course. But we'll see what happens, of course. But it might be Dillon Gabriel since he got drafted a little higher. But by the end of the season, I promise you. Well, actually, I don't promise you. I guarantee you, like that, Shedeur Sanders will be ranked a little higher like that, because you're going to see exactly what we all see. Now moving on next, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams went out there and played some tremendous football. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams is a match made in heaven. Very good matchup. Like the play calling and everything was just in sync. They had a 92-yard drive, an opening drive. He threw a 36-yard touchdown. His 13 snaps he did play, he was 6 for 10. We had 107 yards and a touchdown, 103 passer rating. He just looked very comfortable out there and looked locked in. And if Caleb Williams is like that, the way to Ben Johnson, he could be a very good offensive play caller. We've seen what he did with the Lions, of course. They're going to be real good. Like Caleb Williams, we knew he had talent. Of course, last year his own numbers was pretty solid numbers, pretty good numbers for rookie. He took a lot of sacks, of course. The things that kind of mishappened. Some of the coaching, of course, the Bears had last year was crazy. Mismanaging games and like that, of course, as well. But I think this year with the new look coaching staff, new look locker room and stuff as well, I think Caleb Williams and the Bears are going to be a threat. Look at the NFC North. Last year they had the Vikings. They went out there and won like 12 or 13 games. Hit the Lions, the first seed, and you had the Packers make the playoffs as well. The Bears was doing good at first. They kind of went on a surge of losing. This year, the Bears play like they're supposed to play, and with Ben Johnson bringing the offense up, that division gonna be crazy. The NFC North division gonna be crazy. I like the AFC North, of course, Steelers, Bengals, and then you got Ravens, of course. But the NFC North, all four of those teams gonna be dangerous. And you look at, of course, the AFC West as well, the Chargers. They got Justin Herbert and all those guys. And then you got the Raiders, Geno Smith and Ashton Genty. See how he was running hard and stuff, ran that guy over when they played against the 49ers. You see that. And then you look at Brock Bowers and stuff as well, too, there. He looked tremendous, too, in the preseason game. And last season, we know what he did last year, too, as well. Over 1,000 yards as a rookie tied in. I think on 100 catches as well. Played some tremendous football. And then you look at, of course, the Broncos, Bo Nix and stuff. The Broncos defense is already good. They added more pieces on offense and building their team up. They're going to be a nice team as well. Then look at, of course, Patrick Mahomes. You got 15, like I mentioned before. You got 15, you got a chance every time. The Chiefs have, ever since Mahomes took over as a starter, the Chiefs have never not been in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. They only lost in the AFC title game, which was twice, to the Bengals and to the Patriots, Tom Brady and Burrow. And then the other losses came in the Super Bowl. They have never lost in the first round. Ever since he took over, they never lost in the divisional round. Ever since Mahomes took over as well. So that division right there gonna be nice too. So it's some divisions out there that's AFC and the NFC East. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott back, got George Pickens there. That's gonna be a nice team too. Then you look at the Eagles, Super Bowl reigning champions, of course, as well. They're gonna be nice as well. They just added John Mechie as well via trade. John Mechie is there, paired up back with his boy Devontae Smith. You got AJ Brown there as well. You got all these pieces, of course, on that Eagles defense. Eagles defense and the Eagles offense. And then you look at the Commanders coming from the NFC Championship game with Jaden Daniels and everybody there. Tim McLaurin is finally back. As well from I think he's they've activated him off the PUP list and he's able to return to practice as well. They're still negotiating and trying to see what contract they're gonna give him, of course, as well. He said the asking price he was asking for was more than, of course, DK Metcalf's money. So we'll see exactly what he kind of lands. Like I compared the stats last time, they basically on par with each other with some of their numbers. I think DK had more touchdowns and Terry McLaurin had more catches. Like they basically all around the same rim. So we'll see what happens. And then you look at the Giants, Russell Wilson, that moon ball he threw in the preseason game was cool. And Jackson Dart, like I told you guys, I like Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart coming out of college. Those are two quarterbacks I like. Of course, Cam Ward as well, too. But I feel like Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders, they have some good potential like that. People were sleeping on them, saying things about them and stuff as well. And you look at Jackson Dart, he looked pretty good in that game against with the Giants in the second preseason game as well. So he has scored 3 touchdowns so far, no turnovers. They're looking very good, of course, explosive. Of course, Russell Wilson is still the starter. That's what Brian Daboll said. He'll be the starter for the foreseeable future. But Jackson Dart, he's gearing himself up. They do this right and correctly. They build him up to being the next quarterback. They're gonna be nice. So they got there's some teams out there, there's some divisions out there, some teams out there that's gonna be looking dangerous and stuff. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. You can never count those guys out. That receiving core you got with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. They got Emeka Ibuka on the team right too now, I think, as well. So they got some people. So there's some teams out there. It's gonna be a very good NFL season. It's very unpredictable too because a lot of teams and a lot of divisions are loaded. So it's gonna be very competitive throughout the division. It's not gonna be all that stuff where just one team being one-sided and stuff through most divisions. But you're gonna see a lot of divisions competing for the division title, and then also trying to get in the playoffs and win that Super Bowl. So it's gonna be crazy in the AFC and the NFC. And then you look at, of course, Trey Henderson. They was talking about him too as well. They say his asking price, the Bengals was asking for. They said they've been listening to trade offers yesterday. The asking price for him, they said, is a first-round pick and a young defensive player. They say it ain't got to be an edge rusher. It can be any defensive player. So we'll see what team goes with that. Because if you do sign him, you have to pay him that money too as well. So a team could find a way to, I don't know, do something like negotiate it down to a second-round pick or something. because the Bengals gonna have to get something back from him because they eventually gonna lose him. So if no team decides to trade for him, just wait till next year to be a free agent. Then they just get him for free, kind of not free, but get him without giving up anything in return. So we'll see what they do. Trey Hendrickson's a good player, 4-time Pro Bowler. He had 17 plus sacks the past 2 seasons. He's a good player, very good player as well. I think a contending team like the Lions, will probably be interested. I feel like that's probably the best spot right there to go to the Lions like that. But you'll see exactly where he lands. Like that can be another team that you might not even think of pop up and bring him on the team. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, basically most of the news I have for today, just discussing, of course, some of the divisions, discussing some of the quarterback matchups and the preseason games as well. Some of the top players we've been seeing, of course, Derek Harmon from the Steelers getting the big time sack as well. You see how he just bulldozed the guy out the way. Bulldozed the offensive lineman all the way to the quarterback and then still at the sack. That raw power. That's what people love that they see out of college when they see from him as well. So it's gonna be nice. But Ashton Genty, I think that might be one of the highlights I like the most. Like that run he had when he ran and he got there, ran the guy over and still staying on his feet and still moving. He's gonna be nice too as well. So hey, this is gonna be a good season. I can't wait to see exactly what happens. But that's all I have for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Peace out.